Haunted by your past? Regretting your mistakes? Shown your front and back business to all of New York City? Then this is the video for you. Make sure you like and subscribe, and let's get into it. This episode begins with Miranda's existential horror at coffee and a muffin costing $7.50. Let's hope her life alert is fully charged whenever she approaches a cashier these days. She could have done with it back then too, since she bumps into ex-boyfriend Steve and his girlfriend Jessica seconds later. He invites her to the opening of his new bar, Scout, much to Miranda's disappointment because she appears to think he should have named it after her. Maybe the permit people had concerns about greenlighting a bar called the Indecisive Bitch. In need of a distraction, she becomes convinced that her apartment is haunted after hearing noises above her bed during the night. Or that's just a cover story for the creaking overcapacity crawl space that's about to collapse under the weight of dozens of male corpses. After telling the other ladies, Miranda shows that she's not ready to return to reality just yet when she asks,
"What are you saying, Charlotte? I have a ghost because I'm single?"
Yes, Miranda, that's exactly what she's saying.
Your house isn't haunted, you're lonely.
But, like Miranda's pubic hair, her situation with Steve is a complicated tapestry. What she's really haunted by is the idea that his life has visibly improved since their breakup, and hers has progressed about as far as P. Diddy at a casting call for the next Mr. Rogers. Steve doesn't help matters when at Scout's opening he gives Miranda credit for stoking his entrepreneurship. Carrie claims in voiceover that this helps Ms. Hobbes give up the ghost of their past and accept that they can move forward as friends. Which, because this is Sex and the City, means we're now on the countdown to them smashing pissers again. Start your timers! Carrie's weekly conflama is all snarled up with Miranda's, beginning with her discovery that Steve's co-owner on the bar is none other than his bestie and her ex, Aiden. She initially refuses point blank to accept his invitation to the opening night, fearing they could never be friends after the mess she made of their relationship with her words, actions, and vagina. I'm gonna say up top that I don't buy a single line of Carrie's reasoning for what she does next, wherein she treks down to Scout with a potted plant as a shit peace offering. Perhaps at this stage, Aiden simply lacks the experience to know that dealing with Carrie is much like living in Australia. If you leave the door open even a crack, something will eventually try to kill you. Luckily, Steve throws cold water on Carrie's rapidly escalating delulu by revealing that Aiden didn't invite her at all. He did, and only as Miranda's wingwoman. Which leaves her in an embarrassed confusion only recently surpassed by the Wicked press tour.
I didn't know that was happening.
Carrie's issue here is one we've seen before. She's pathologically incapable of feeling disliked, but has the impulse control of a randy cat. Or, since we're already on the topic, Cynthia Erivo when she isn't the centre of attention. Carrie does eventually go to the Scout opening with Samantha and Miranda, where her nose is quickly pushed out of joint by Aiden's blasé acknowledgement of her presence. I mean, the least he could have offered is a free shot. He already knows how much Carrie loves a slippery nipple. After waiting for what I'm sure was a deeply resentful hour, she eventually bumps into Aiden outside for a bit of loaded flirting. This causes her to realise that she still has feelings for him, because it's not enough to ruin a guy's life once if there's a chance you can go in for seconds and really mess him up. Freshly minted, non-heterosexual Samantha is already tired of girlfriend Maria's homebody ways. largely because she lacks the experience to know that she's lucky not to be buying property, co-parenting a menagerie of cats, and planning a white wedding for 800 by now. She also lacks the foresight to anticipate a more immediate problem: the trail of lustful men her less lesbian past left in its wake, which turns every place they go into a sexually menacing game of Guess Who, where every card is a picture of a giant throbbing wearing glasses and a jaunty hat. This results in a bath time chit-chat where the awkwardness is shockingly not caused by the slow realization that they're soaking in each other's filth. Instead, Maria naively inquires as to Samantha's body count without the assistance of a graphing calculator. Sam dodges that bullet upon discovering that Maria's is a comparatively virginal 12, but in doing so exposes an uncomfortable truth. She's unwilling to be the kind of emotionally vulnerable this particular relationship requires. Although, fair play, there are only so many candlelit baths a couple can have together before one inevitably tries to drown the other. Eventually, one of those previously mentioned men is driven up to Samantha's apartment past midnight by his trouser trout. When he's confronted by both ladies and discovers that they're together, his first bewildering instinct is to ask if they'd like to make him a sandwich. Now, I know a little something about lesbians. Specifically, I know enough to retreat to a minimum safe distance should anything even approaching this misogynistic escape from a man's mouth in their presence. Luckily for him, Maria gives their gentleman caller enough time to get away before the real fireworks start, because those are reserved for Samantha after she short-sightedly rants about the lack of passion in their relationship. The resulting smashing argument ultimately leads to their breakup, with a brief interlude to try a strappy little number which Maria offers by way of apology. The most notable thing about which is Miranda's sudden, insistent curiosity, making notes for the future, perhaps.
I don't think so. No, 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 no.
Months of recently resolved separation from husband Trey evidently failed to mend any of Charlotte's more frayed edges. Which is why we find her shopping for a new marital bed, having only just been invited back into the old one. After spending so long trying to salvage her marriage, it is understandable that Charlotte might have forgotten about the big, pulsing Oedipal mess at its core, which mother-in-law and Gila monster in a human suit, Bunny, is happy to remind her of, when she rocks up unannounced on the shopping trip, ranting about dust ruffles like she's on commission. After realizing that Mother MacDougal is also responsible for Trey's apartment looking like the viewing room in a funeral parlor, Charlotte decides the time has come to slap away her rotting, controlling hand with a spot of redecoration. She fails to see the warning signs when Mommy's little monster uncharacteristically offers to confront Bunny himself, and is therefore blindsided when, the morning he's supposed to do it, he plays hooky from adulthood with a sore throat, leading to Bunny moving in instead of f***ing off, presumably to work on their plans for a cute Californian motel with convenient swamp access. To her credit, Charlotte does eventually confront Bunny, politely but firmly telling her to sling her wrinkled hook. But the granny's not for turning, insisting that she'll outlast and possibly, worryingly, outlive Char, who's probably picturing Trey carrying around his mother's mummified, still-living husk in a papoose 50 years from now. This reaches its inevitably disgusting conclusion when Bunny's next morning intrusion with breakfast muffins results in her witnessing her son having Charlotte's muffin for breakfast. I'm not sure I'd carry on after she leaves like they do, but if anything was going to do it for Trey, odds are it would be seeing his mother walk into a cloud of his and his wife's stank. After all of the romantically spooky goings on this episode, this video's question is, have you ever re-encountered an ex after breaking up? And if so, did it go any better than this cluster whoops? Drop your answers in the comments below. Either way, thanks for watching, don't forget to like and subscribe, and remember, if you can't be good, be crusty.